Tara, we finally did it.
Did
I
it.
know, we got
excited
together.
to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited that you're here. And today's segment is really just about listening to people's stories. And you have one killer story. So, talk about the poster child for resilience and turning that resilience into helping others, which you know I'm passionate about too. So, we have that in common.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, tell me a little bit about Teal or Tenaciously Teal, because I love this organization.
Thank you. Yes. So it started out of my fight with ovarian cancer. Teal is the color for ovarian cancer awareness.
Oh, wow.
And when I was 29, I was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer.
Wow. So what was not to make you go too far into all of your story, but I don't know of any 29-year-old that wakes up and goes, "Oh, this is probably cancer."
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, it was misdiagnosed for a long time. There's no
wow.
early detection test for ovarian cancer,
Okay.
and the average age of diagnosis is 55. So when I started having pain and issues when I
Yeah.
was 28, they weren't looking for ovarian cancer. So it was actually found unexpectedly through a laparoscopic, like exploratory surgery, that they thought I had a cyst on my ovary. And once they got in there, they found out it was a tumor.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So you go from just living your 28, 29-year-old life and then boom, you're struck with this diagnosis. And what was your mindset? Because, you know, I'm all about self connection and mindset. What was your mindset and your connection with yourself at that age, at that moment, when you're getting ready to take on this huge thing?
Very little. I had just gotten married. I had been married for about 3.5 years, and I had poured myself into my career working in child welfare. And so had a basically overwhelming caseload of families who had a lot of needs that I was trying to help with. So there wasn't like a lot of focus on me at that time. It was more on, advancing my career, my clients, my husband, thinking about starting a family. So yeah, I was definitely blindsided by the diagnosis for
Yeah.
sure.
Do you remember your first thought? Like the first thing that went through your mind?
Well, I remember I found out because I was waking up out of surgery,
Mm.
and my mom was there, and my husband was as well,
Yeah.
and he couldn't talk, and my mom did, and she just told me, "Yeah, this is a tumor," and then the doctor kind of took over and said, "Yes," they'd removed my fallopian tubes and stuff. So my first thought was, I'm never having like my own kids.
Wow.
So yeah.
So you were able to have awareness even in that moment coming out of surgery of just the that your path was going to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and then you go through treatments and you're doing and it was somewhere in the treatments, right, that you started to realize that you were seeing people that had needs.
Yeah. So actually, my first step in the process was what they call a debulking surgery. It's very
Okay.
extensive surgery. It was over an 8-hour surgery that I was
Wow.
in. And so I was in the hospital for a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I really became cognizant of the disparity between like the support I had and the lack of support some other people had who were also fighting cancer, who had heard those words, "You have cancer,"
Yeah.
which is devastating on its own just to hear that.
Yeah.
And then face
Yeah.
all the things, surgery, chemo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was when I was first in the hospital and, you're recovering from surgery, and I start walking the halls and just familiarizing myself with the people around me and
Yeah.
the rooms, and
Yeah.
just saw people that were just by themselves every
Yeah.
day. And I've always been a person of like, things should be fair, even though I know life is definitely not fair.
Right.
But it just didn't seem fair that I had a lot of
Yeah.
support and people didn't. So.
Yeah. I love your high justice need. You
Yeah, you have told me that before.
you have the high justice need.
Yes, I do. I do.
And the other thing that I really love about your story is here you're going through this massive challenge and you're thinking about other people. And so I'm calling this out only for viewers
Okay.
because, you know how I adore you and I think you're so strong. Something like that, though, could make you disconnect from yourself because, I truly believe people will disconnect when it's too painful to be them
Mm.
or when it gets really hard. And you used some of that to really focus on other people, right? Was it hard to get back to you after focusing on so many other people?
Yeah, I think if I'm being totally honest and
Yeah.
transparent, it wasn't until like a few years ago, really, where I did get back to me because
Yeah.
I, started this ministry in the midst of like my treatment and
Wow.
chemotherapy. I was also in my last semester of graduate school
Oh my
when I was
goodness.
diagnosed, and so I was focusing on like graduation and then.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just trying to get through chemo, trying to make it through the suffering and everything. But, and it did help me to like think about other people. And
Yeah.
it just kind of quickly or very organically grew. And I didn't really think it would be something necessarily when I got done with treatment and was declared cancer free. But there was a need and I saw the
Mhm.
impact it made. So
Yeah.
uh, when people asked, are you like going to keep coming back? And initially it was like, no. But
Wow.
then I thought, well, I
Yeah.
don't, who will? And so I kept coming back and it grew very quickly. I started doing it
Yeah.
full time in like 2 years after we formalized. And so
Yeah.
there was a lot of focus on other people fighting cancer and still is, but
Yeah.
for a long time.
Well, I can tell you, it's interesting having just, was that last July that you did care packs and cocktails?
Yes, that you
Oh,
came to.
that I
Yes.
came to, yes. And you've been doing this now for, will it be 10 years this summer?
Yes. So this summer will be our 10th Care Packs and Cocktails event. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I know when I attended the event, I was shocked at how massive, I mean, the event is massive. And then just to see all of the survivors just celebrating, and it was like a night to shine. It was incredibly inspiring.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
I can't wait to do it again this year
I
because
hope you'll come.
it is
Yeah.
so inspiring. Did you envision that? Did you know that it was going to get that big, and that at some point you were going to be leading I would call it more than just an organization. You're really leading a movement of
Hmm.
the awareness and the care.
Yeah. No, I did not. And in
Yeah.
fact, I've told you I've tried to take more time within the last couple of years to really sit back and like appreciate like the hard work that went
Yeah.
into it and the time and the effort because it obviously didn't just like
Yeah.
grow to what it is on its own. It took a lot of, like they say, it sounds cliche, but a labor of love. And that's what it's been for sure. But yeah, our
Yeah.
first like care packs and cocktails was like 50 people in a house in downtown OKC. And last year we had like
Oh my
a
goodness.
1,000 people.
Isn't
So
that
here
amazing?
we are.
Wow. What
Yeah.
a fun celebration to be
Yeah.
able to celebrate that. Okay, so back to my passion.
Okay.
When did you realize through life and your journey and all the things that you've been through, when did you realize I might not be as connected to my internal landscape as I think I am, and I might not have as much to give for myself as I am giving to everybody else because you're such a giver.
Thank you. I don't know if there was like a moment that
Mhm.
I realized that. I think it was kind of a slow burn, if you will, of
Yeah.
the realization. I think it took getting to know you and having sessions with you to realize how disconnected I was. I've
Yeah.
told you this before, but I remember one of our first sessions. You said like we're gonna find out what Tara's make and model is, and I'm like, well, I know my make and model, right? Like I
Right.
um, 40 years old, and I've been doing this a long time. Like, I'm Tara. I run Tenaciously, Teal. I'm all these things that I've classified myself
Yeah.
as. But I really,
Yes.
truly didn't actually know like what made me like happy, what brought me joy,
Right.
like what I really loved to do, how I really felt about people in my life and
Yeah.
my connection with them. So,
Yeah. And most people don't. I
yeah.
mean, what's so interesting is before you get into this explicit memory, which is we learn in our conscious memory, right? We have this implicit memory, which is all the learning that took place before we were 8 to 10. So you have all of this background that's going on and having no idea that you're acting out beliefs and ideas that you had no idea because they've been so normalized and so familiar. And so when you come across someone like me who's really passionate about what did you learn in that early childhood, what did you grow to believe is normal
Mm,
and familiar, then we get to choose a little bit more of what our make and model actually does, how it performs, right?
absolutely.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
So, and you've been so kind to let me kind of deep dive with you and to get into some of those memories, which we both have a lot in
Yeah.
common,
Yeah. We
um,
do.
which is always fun that we
Yeah.
get to revisit that. But now more connected, because I watched your journey being more connected. Are there things about yourself that you're able to enjoy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm fun.
Yeah, you are fun.
I'm funny, and I had lost that, and even like some of my best friends within the last year have been like, "You're like that have known me a long time, right? Like since high
Right.
school and stuff." And they're like, "It's like the old Tara. You're funny again." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, dang it, I didn't know I had lost the funny, but I'm glad it's back." So, and then yeah, just like having like an
Yeah.
appreciation for life and uh
Yeah.
obviously when you go through like any kind of near death experiences, like you're supposed to come out of it like really appreciative, or I shouldn't say you're supposed to, but maybe that's like
People
uh
expect that. People
people
expect
expect
that.
that.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Especially when you're coming out of cancer, it's like a new normal, you're adjusting to everything. But
Yeah.
then also when you're not like connected to yourself and your like personal life, it just exacerbates like the problem of like, okay, what is the new normal?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I will say now being secure in like who I am and what I like and
Yeah.
what I don't like, right?
Yeah.
That life is a lot more fun again. So
Yes. And I've seen you really represent yourself in that. And it's been fun to watch because you are a powerhouse, which you know that. You're a powerhouse woman. And oh, tell the viewers about what the 70-year-old woman said to you the other day because you mentioned this earlier and I absolutely love it because it's so true.
I love it. I know it was quotable for sure.
Yes.
So we were talking about, what I had been through the last few years. And
Yeah.
she's like, it's a long, hard road to becoming a strong woman. And I was like,
Amen.
mic drop. That was
That
good.
is a mic drop. Yes. And
It's a
you
long,
have
hard road.
taken that long, hard road. And I will say you're on the path of one of the strongest women that I know. And I will always be championing you from, uh, you know, the sidelines.
Same. Same.
So,
Thank you. I
um,
appreciate it. You're strong too.
well, I've loved having you today. You being here is just amazing. A treat for me.
Yeah.
So thank you for taking the long hike to get to the studio today and that we get this time together and the rest of our enjoyment we're going to do off camera.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for watching.